Okay. Good morning to folks in the US. Good evening, everyone from India. We are here on the next episode of Ask a CEGian webinar. Today, the topic is a very special one. It's titled Engineer to a Technical Officer in the Indian Air Force. And we have Squadron Leader Vivek SR from CEG 2013 Material Sciences. Vivek was also part of the NCC Army. We have a large student participation from NCC Army. So thank you for joining. Before we start, I'll repeat the couple of housekeeping rules. Please, if you're not speaking, please mute your audio and video. You can post your questions in the chat. If we have too many participants than what can be handled on Zoom, there is also a YouTube link that you can then join, and there is a chat there also. So without further ado, Squadron Leader Vivek, please take it away. Feel free to, I'll stop my sharing. Please share your screen.
Sure. Are you able to see the screen?
It's not come up yet.
Okay.
I can see your video.
Okay.
Yes. Now we can see your screen. Correct. We can do that.
The presentation is on, right?
Yes.
For you.
Wonderful. We can see the screen.
Sure. Jai Hind, everyone. First of all, thank you, Mr. Karthik and Dr. Shanta ma'am, for giving me this opportunity for sharing my experience and give an idea about the armed forces to my fellow CEGians. Thanks to my friend Dr. Hema Prabha, who has suggested my name to Team CEGian. It always gives me immense pleasure and happiness to get back to CEGians. And today, most of the NCC cadets are also present. So thanks to Dr. Suresh Babu, who gave me the opportunity to interact with NCC cadets, for which I have been waiting for quite some time. When I was preparing for this presentation, I was going through all the old photos, which brought back all the wonderful memories from NCC. It really felt as if it was yesterday. We were there attending camps and doing parades, but it's already 11 years. Time flies, actually. I have been given an hour for this webinar. I'll try to do my best to do justice to this valuable time provided to me. Without much further ado, we'll start the presentation. So engineer to a technical officer in Indian Air Force. Most of the times when someone tells I'm going to join armed forces, the first thing that comes to many people's mind is that it is risky, life-threatening, and can't stay with the family, etc., etc. So they generally visualize a picture of a soldier standing with arms at the border and assumes that that is what he or she is going to do. Yes, there is someone among us who is doing that duty to guard the nation's border as we speak now, no doubt in that. But there are different entities in the armed forces, each having their own role and tasks in guarding the nation. Not every personnel necessarily need to go to the border for guarding it. Many are doing that from their allotted area of responsibilities. Yes, there are some inherent threats in doing so, But I feel that the fear present in the minds of common people is a little exaggerated. First, we are combatants and are trained to face the adversities if need arises. But the primary role we are assigned to do is different for different branches of the armed forces. In this talk, I'll try to give an actual picture about what it is like to have a life in armed forces, especially in Indian Air Force. I'll cover my talk in the following heads. After explaining the aim and defining the scope of this presentation, I'll start off with my journey from my school days till my selection into Air Force. Following that, I'll give a brief overview about the armed forces and then discuss in detail what we as an engineer do. What are the responsibilities we are given as an officer? We will briefly see the reasons why you can consider this profession as your career, following which I will explain how to become part of this fraternity, different entries, various stages in selection process, etc. I'll conclude before we move on to question and answer session. I strongly believe that as students at this stage, it is your right to take informed decisions. It is better to be clear in your mind what you want to be. You should be a chooser, having many options lying in front of you. Having a clear knowledge about your various options would aid in taking a clear decision. So the main aim for conducting this webinar is to help you take that informed decision by giving an idea about the armed forces. And of course, it is also to motivate you guys to join us in this fraternity. For me also, my teacher, friends and seniors were there for me to motivate. They have motivated me to try for forces. Today, I'm gonna do the same for you. Though I'll be covering a general overview of the armed forces, I'll be discussing in detail about the Indian Air Force. And in that, I'll be specific to the opportunities for engineering branch. Starting with the journey, I belong to a town called Mailadurai and recently made as a district, and I'm from a typical middle class family. Parents were doing some small sweet shop business, and we lived in a small rented house. I did the whole of my schooling from there only. At school, I was an above average student till 10th. I was also not into playing games or any other sports. For that matter, not even basic physical activity was there. We didn't even have a proper ground accompanying our school. We had to walk quite a distance from our school to the playground for our PT classes. Then in higher secondary classes, I was completely into studies. School followed by tuition, tests, model exams, etc., etc. The only thing I had fixed in my mind was CEG, nothing less than that. Every test we wrote was keeping that in mind. We were a group of friends and we had one common aim, CEG. We were ready to do anything for that. Those 2 years were a concentrated effort towards CEG. So this strong aim, the main reason behind this was that we had a good mentors.
Vivek, apologies. I think we've accidentally muted you in admitting attendees. Could you please unmute, please?
My video is not there.
Um, please feel free to start your video also. I think we accidentally muted you in admitting somebody. My apologies.
Okay. No problem. No problem. Thank you. So from which slide I'll continue or?
This is good, please. Towards
Okay.
this is good.
So,
Please continue.
Okay. So the result came for my higher secondary classes, and I got some 95% overall score. But cutoff was a little low that I did not get any major departments at CEG. So friends and parents were like, go for a good mainstream department rather than taking some unknown branch in CEG and all. But I was adamant that if I'm going to do engineering, it would be only from CEG, no matter which department it is. So here my parents supported me a lot, and they let me take my decision. It was completely my decision. Though they were a little scared about the scope and other opportunities and all, they had trust in me and believed that I would take a right decision. So I chose material science and engineering. I entered CEG. It was really a dream come true, and I was so happy that for 2 years, what I have been visualizing, I could live it for real. I still remember that night, August 9, 2009. I came to the room allotted to me in the hostel, lying on my bed, waiting for the next day, which would be my first day at CG. Those 4 years of college was like a huge exposure to different things. I'm sure all of you are also having the same experience. The students are given so much responsibilities that helps them develop themselves as a person. The scope for taking risks and doing experimentation is more since there is not much at stake. At CEG, I was decent in studies, managing to score more than 8.5. Though I did not select this department with prior knowledge, I started liking it as the class progressed. It was really fascinating to know at atomic level how everything around us is made. We were exposed to technologies that can help us see things at nano level and analyze them. I was part of a I was part of a project related to renewable energies, which was selected by CTDT, and we could produce good results. Other than academics, I was involved in Kurukshetra, Tech Office, and Department Symposium every year. So I was at my final year, and placements started coming. There were not many scopes for core companies that year coming for campus selections, but family needed support. So as a backup plan, I got placed in a data analysis company. I wanted to get into armed forces, but that time I was not sure how is the selection is going to be there and whether I'll get it or not. So parallelly, I was aiming to getting into research if I did not get armed forces. So I had my national eligibility test exam cleared in my final year, and I was waiting for an interview at CSIR. If nothing goes right, I've already had secured a job for supporting the family. These 4 years in CEG gave me everything: friends, juniors, seniors, unlimited resources, self confidence, etc. etc. But the best thing that CEG ever gave me is NCC. There is no second thought on that. Selection into NCC was an interesting story. Immediately after registration into the department seniors who were in NCC were waiting outside to register us into NCC. We had to join any one of the four sports: NCC, NSS, or YRC. I hope it is continuing now also. We had our school seniors telling that NCC is tough, choose anything other than that. But my school teacher, whom I mentioned earlier, he told me that it is tough, but it is good for you to if you join NCC. As I told, I just blindly followed him. He gave me a name, CEG, so that is achieved. Now he asked me to join NCC, so let's go and join. I registered in NCC and I thought it was done. But NCC had a different story. When we assembled at the unit, we were told that there will be a selection process because the strength is a little higher. And how the selection is going to happen? Yeah, running race. So just by hearing that, my heartbeat increased and I started panicking. A person who has never run in years and not even involved in any physical activities had to run in a race for selection into NCC straight away. I had only one thing in mind: just completely run, nothing else. I was one of the last few guys who could barely make it to the end. I was fortunate that I got selected, and that changed everything. The training that we were exposed to in NCC was completely new to me, and I was like, I liked that thoroughly. It was a complete transformation from what I actually was, both mentally and physically. We were taught everything right from how to stand to how to fire a weapon. So one of the many things that I learned there was volunteering. Whether we will be able to do the task or not, that is secondary. The first thing that we should be mentally is that we should be mentally ready to take up the task. Seniors will come sometimes and ask, there is a job, who is ready to do it or not, something like that. Without any doubts, my hands used to go up. Many a times there will not be actually be any job. The thing is that you are always ready for new things, and I like that a lot. This is the main reason that I could utilize most of the opportunities that NCC gave me. I was in college RD parade team, attended 4 different camps and various other activities. So the next thing that I liked is discipline. So it is etched in your character at NCC. It slowly becomes your habit, starting from a simple thing of being available 5 minutes before the given time of reporting to ensuring your turnout is up to the standards. It is carved into your lifestyle. During NCC days, I had attended 4 different camps, one of which is Army Attachment Camp. Only 15 cadets were selected to attend that camp, and that became one of the major inspirations for me to join the courses. We had just entered our second year, and we were for this getting ready for this camp for 2 weeks. We went to an army regiment at Secunderabad, where we were accommodated in a billet of the Jawans. So those 15 days of stay was like a lifetime experience. Till the time, we had been only hearing about the lifestyle inside an army campus from our instructors. There we were exposed to their work culture, made to visit nearby army installations, had a ride on an armored tank, the photo of which you are looking at, told various heroic stories, etc., etc. So we lived those 15 days along with the Jawans, and it was highly motivating. After coming back, we were so high in Josh that we applied for an entry which we should have applied at after completing our 12th. So we were like, let's give it an attempt. If we clear, we will go and join, leaving the college at second year. So later we came back to our senses that and decided let's complete our engineering degree first and try for defense after gaining the degree. So that was one of the major inspirations for me to join the forces. Uh, the selection into Air Force, it was my final year. Actually, I was more interested in applying for Army since I was there in an Army regiment during that camp. This opening for Air Force came in newspaper, and one of my NCC friends had already got selected in Air Force in his third year. So I thought, why leave it? Let's give it a try. Applied for the exam, and written got cleared. I then got the interview date. I can still remember it is December 24, 2012, when I had to report to Mysore. The previous day, I had my NET exam. Completing that exam, I started to Mysore for the interview. 5 days of interview went well, and I got recommended in my first attempt. Till this point, it seemed to be easy. Even though did not give concentrated effort, cleared written exam as well as interview. But the actual testing was yet to follow. I had to get ready for the medicals. So I had to reduce some around 12 kgs of weight within a month to meet the medical standards. So I did that. And then when I went for medicals, there was a surprise waiting for me. I was told that I had to undergo a minor surgical procedure, and the note in my medical documents read permanently made unfit for armed forces. So looking at that, my mind went completely blank. I did not know what to do after looking at that. After having put in so much effort in reducing the weight and getting fit, then the result came as unfit. That too permanently for all the armed forces. So then I called few seniors and other some teachers and asked their opinion. So it was a 50-50 chance. So I decided that I'll go with the surgery and underwent that surgery. It was not sure even after undergoing that surgery where I will be made fit or not. So still I went with that. Why leave this option? So appeared for the appeal medicals at Delhi, and thankfully I was made medically fit. Now that the medical has been cleared, the final merit list is yet to be out. Chances are there that I may be left out in the final merit list also. So finally, the merit list came, and I was literally shouting in my hostel room on seeing my name in that list. I reported to the Air Force Academy on 1st of July 2013, and coincidentally, I had an interview at CSAR Delhi on the same date for the position of JRF. At Air Force Academy, I was given basic military training for 6 months. We were given physical training as well as mostly in the training academy, we were made mentally strong rather than physically strong. We were made mentally strong. It was like 24 hours. It is completely occupied. So I'll not go in detail about the training part of this. So after completing that military training, able to hear me?
Yes, absolutely. I can hear you.
Okay. So I looking after getting selected into the interview, the actual test started. So I had to reduce some 12 kgs of weight within a month to meet the medical standards. When I went for medicals, I reduced that, and when I went for medicals, it was a surprise waiting for me. I was told that I had to undergo some minor surgical procedure and all, and the note in my medical documents read permanently made unfit for armed forces. So looking at that, my mind went completely blank. After having put so much of effort in reducing the weight and getting fit, the result came was unfit, that too permanently for all the armed forces. So it was completely demotivating, though I did not know what to do. So I called up some seniors and teachers and asked their opinions. So it was a 50-50 chance. So I underwent that surgery, and without knowing that whether I'll be made fit again or not. So I appeared for the medicals again, appeal medicals. Then I thankfully I got medically fit. So now that the medical has been cleared, the final merit list is yet to be out. Chances are there that I may be left out in the final merit list. So finally, the merit list came, and I was literally shouting in my hostel room on seeing my name in that list. So I reported to the Air Force Academy on 1st July 2013. Coincidentally, I had an interview at CSAR Delhi on the same date for the position of JRF. At Air Force Academy, I was given basic military training for 6 months. After that, moved to Air Force Technical College at Bangalore for undergoing a course in aeronautical engineering for a year. At the end of the course, passed out as an engineering officer and got selected for further stream-specific training. So what happens is after we pass out, we will be given streams, different streams. So some officers will be given, will be trained in aircraft, some officers will be trained in missiles, and some officers will be trained in radars. So I got one of the advanced fighter aircraft, so I had to undergo that training in that particular aircraft. So that training again lasted for 6 months. After undergoing all these training for 2 years, finally got posted to a field unit. This is my journey till joining Air Force. I'll explain the role of Air Force and as an engineer, what is my role after giving a little brief about the overall armed forces. So the major three forces that we have are Army, Navy, and Air Force. Prime objective of all the forces is to safeguard our nation's territory, but each has their area of responsibilities. Army is to protect against any land intrusion and to fight on land against them. Similarly, Navy and Air Force are to protect the territory by fighting in sea and air during a war. Similarly, BSF that is Border Security Force and the Coast Guard, have their area of responsibility defined. They are guarding our borders 24/7 during peacetime, while the Army, Navy, and Air Force are engaged in practice missions for future military engagements. So, what do we do actually? Let's see the role of Air Force. What does Air Force do? The primary role is to guard the airspace around the clock. We expect an intrusion at any point of time and be ready for neutralizing them. So, what do we mean by this and how do we do it? So, for doing this, we have an array of assets at our disposal. We have become a technology intensive force where we have got weapon platforms with one of the most advanced technologies in the world. We have got surface to air missiles that can be deployed to destroy any unauthorized air intrusions. We have got advanced radars to be the ears and eyes in the skies for monitoring the air traffics throughout the country and around the clock. We have got advanced transport aircraft for immediate deployment of troops and heavy lift transport aircraft for mobilization of heavy loads from any part of the country. Helicopters are there with us for troop deployment as well as to be deployed during humanitarian missions. We have unmanned aerial vehicle to be deployed for various recce missions. We have got advanced airfields which at many places are being used for civil aircraft movement also. Last but not the least, we have got the mighty fighter aircraft equipped with an arsenal of air-to-air and air-to-ground weapons to engage the enemy in air as well as on surface. So, what do we do in peace? You might have heard this quote: "The more we sweat in peace, less we bleed in war." That's what we do in peace. We sweat more, meaning we practice again and again for a mission, and the training is a regular and continuous affair. As new warriors get inducted regularly, training them to the required standards continues. Training never ends in forces. There is always something new to learn and improve upon. Whether it is academics or practice mission, we do that and we redo that again and again until it is proven fail safe. Other than training, we carry out various military exercises with Army and Navy and also with other countries' Air Force. You would have heard them in news. These are the opportunities where the missions which we have been practicing throughout the year, those are put into testing. So feedback is taken and then SOPs are amended if necessary. Other than this, we carry out humanitarian missions where we undertake operations during natural calamities. Air Force has carried out various such missions. Few notable ones being Uttarakhand floods, Assam flood, Kerala and Chennai floods. Even now in this COVID pandemic for movement of supplies to various part of the country. So coming to role of an engineer, I mentioned that we have got an array of assets having advanced technologies. The major role of an engineer is to maintain those equipment in operational worthy status at all times. For doing that, you have a team of airmen available with you who are trained in those systems. You, as an engineering officer, have to lead them in achieving this set target. As I said earlier, we undertake training missions as an everyday affair. So these assets are machines and they need regular maintenance to avoid any unexpected failure during actual missions. So we have a set of servicing schedules that we follow to keep those machines fit for operations at all times. Nevertheless, faults occur and that has to be rectified in minimum time possible. Unexpected failures can occur at any time and we cannot wait for the officers to rectify it. Be it any time, the team is always ready for putting those flying machines back on tarmac for operations. So these are few photos which I have taken from open sources. Here, one of the aircraft engine is being fitted into the aircraft. So last but not the least, as an engineering officer of a fighter aircraft, I am not only responsible for keeping those aircraft airworthy, I'm also assigned with the task of loading the weapons onto the aircraft as per the required configuration. Ultimately, fighters are supposed to be fighting with the weapons loaded onto them. It is my responsibility to ensure that the loading is done correct and that it can be offered for the mission. There is no margin for errors here. I have to be 100% sure before offering it. Not only the safety of the aircraft, which worth millions has to be kept in mind, there is also the life of a pilot involved in this. So the mission can only go through once the aircraft is cleared by an engineering officer. And this is where your training comes for your aid. So there are many other roles an officer is assigned with, but I think this is enough to give an overview about what we do as an engineering officers. So coming to why to join, why forces? As you could see, the responsibility is enormous, but it's not only about work, it's also about living well. The quality of life is an important attribute in Air Force. It takes care of your every need. It provides us the best of facilities, be it recreation, sports, medical, education, or clubs and institutes. The life offers you challenge, adventure, excitement, self respect, content, family life, safety and security for self and for your family also, and not to forget the social status, respect of your countrymen. You get a group of like minded people with special bonding that lasts for the lifetime. The supports you get from those extended families have boundless value. Be it any time of the day, they will be always available for helping you out. The lifestyle imbibes in us a healthy well-being. As a routine, you would be engaged in various physical activities, which helps you being fit. And it's a noble service to the motherland and an honorable profession to be proud of. Besides that, life in the IAF gives you opportunity to undergo various adventurous sports, including skydiving, parasailing, mountaineering, trekking, skiing, scuba diving, to name a few. So coming to how to join, there are 4 ways to enter Air Force as an officer. NDA is after you complete your 12th, you will be entering NDA to undergo 3 years of training where you will be NDA is National Defense Academy. There, as a cadet, you enter, and it is a common academy for Air Force, Army, and Navy. So, in those 3 years of training, you will be given a degree once you pass out. This won't be applicable to most of you. Uh, the second one is NCC, NCC entry. The NCC entry is for pilots. Through this entry, you can only become a pilot. And NCC Air Wing C certificate is necessary for applying. So most of the Army cadets who are presently available, if you are having Army C certificate, you have a special entry in Army also through this NCC. So this NCC entry is a permanent commission. And CDSE, that is Combined Defense Service Entrance Test Examination, is also common for Air Force, Army, and Navy. But this is again for only pilots. You can become a pilot and in the permanent commission entry. The last one is the AFCAT, that is Air Force Common Admission Test. So this applies to most of us. It is a common exam that is conducted for selecting officers for various branches of the Air Force. The advertisement is given twice a year for application. For engineering branch entry, you will have to clear engineering knowledge test EKT in addition to AFCAT. So you can refer this link. So more details will be available in this link. I'll quickly go through the selection process. Initially, there is a written test. After clearing that, next stage is to clear SSB. Here, the interview is for 5 days. More than your knowledge, your character is assessed there. Whether you are fit to be in a group. So those kind of your psychological behavior and group behavior and your personal behavior, everything will be tested. There are three stages in SSB. One is the psychological test, second one is group test, and third one is personal interview. So three different officers will be assessing you, and if three of them are in concurrence, so one they you will be selected in that. One need not to be an intelligent to clear this. He or she should possess few qualities that the services look for. So after SSB, medical examination will be done. Basic medical requirement for coping up with the training will be checked. Whether you will be able to undergo those training or not, where you will be getting any complications in future. So though they have some set standards, so depending upon that, you will be assessed medically. So after medicals, final merit list will be out based on the marks of written test and interview combined. So till this merit list is out, it is not sure whether you are inside or out. Even though you have cleared written and SSB, um, the final merit list in that name should come in that list. So this is overall picture about the armed forces, air force, and role of an engineer, and the ways to join the Indian Air Force. I believe now you would have got a little idea about what is the role of Air Force in guarding the nation, and in that, what's the role of an engineering officer. I also believe that I have convinced you to some extent why you should join forces and explain the ways to do it. I hope that I have made justice to the time I given to me. Thank you so much. I have completed. I'm open for discussion.
Thank you so much, Squadron Leader Vivek. Thank you for a wonderful presentation. Everyone, now please feel free to ask any questions you have for Squadron Leader Vivek, and feel free to ask it orally as well. I know we have mentioned during the meeting to type your questions in the chat. Now that we have at least 10 minutes available for us, please feel free to either ask it orally or type it in the chat. So in the time that cadets and students and our participants are thinking, there are a couple of questions that come to my mind, if it's all right to ask
Sure.
Squadron Leader Vivek.
Sure.
One is there any one in the armed forces, does one need to know Hindi ahead of time, or is that lack of knowledge in Hindi a bottleneck at all?
No, there is nothing like that. So I was also in the same standard that I did not know anything, even a single word. I went to Hindi tuition, and also I knew that small words like kalam, meaning pen, which is of no use there.
Mm-hmm.
So once you get into training, though that 6 months I have not that 6 months of military training I have not gone in detail. So everything will be taken care of there.
Okay.
Even you don't know Hindi within 6 months, it will be. So your friends are around us, and even though they can speak English, they will try to speak in Hindi only. So you don't have any other way other than learning it.
Okay. And the other question that came to mind was, we have many, I think a few women students participating as well. What are the options? Are the options that you listed gender neutral? What is the role of how do women participate? We see pilots, women pilots, success stories in the news.
Yes.
I want to know if you have any suggestions or thoughts about how women can participate in the armed forces.
Sure. I specifically did not mention any demarcation between the male officers or women officers. So here we follow it is officer, whether you are male or female, it is an officer. So the role assigned to them is equal. The women play the same role, and they are assigned the same workload as equivalent to men. So there is no difference in selection, starting from the selection, medicals, and the training procedure, the military training. They have the standards a little bit different. For example, if you have to run a particular distance in a particular time, so it is for male cadets it is different, and for female cadets. Other than that, the once you complete the training and you go for actual field operations, so these especially in engineering field, so there is no difference. You can see recently 3 women pilot have been inducted in fighters. So till now they were not into fighters. They were women officers who were in who were pilots in transport and helicopters. But now they have been they are getting into fighters also, and recently 2-3 women officers have been posted to Rafael squadrons also. So they are going to get trained in Rafaels also.
Wonderful, wonderful. Thank you. I think you have a question already. Somebody is asking about UES entry for Air Force.
Yes, UES entry. In our time, it was there. I think they have stopped it now. University entry scheme. UES is university entry scheme. My friend whom I mentioned, he entered through UES entry. I hope they have stopped it. AFCAT entry and CDSC entry. And to answer the second question, if we join short service commission, is it possible to get permanent commission? The policy has come recently, 2 years back only. We have the policy online that even if you join a short service, there are chances that you may get permanent commission, but it is not sure. It is completely upon your performance in service. So you will be assessed every year. So they have set of standards. So up to what is the standard above which they will get selected for permanent commission. So if you meet the standards, you will get permanent commission. Conditions apply that the vacancy should be there. So if vacancy, number of vacancy, the permanent commission will be accordingly.
Darshani is asking if CEG has an NCC air wing.
NCC. I think it is not there till the time I was there. Only Navy and Army were there. So I think it is not there. NCC air wing is not there at CEG.
And Arunachaleshwar, yes. How many attempts can we make at SSB? How many
attempts we can make SSB? There is no limit to that. Till the time you are age-wise, till the time you are eligible age-wise, you can attempt as many SSB as you want. But it is better to clear in your first attempt, because once you go for second or third attempt, the interviewers will have some ideas that he has been failed in other 2-3 attempts earlier. But nevertheless, it is we have seen people who have come in their 9th and 10th attempts. On one of my batchmate, NCC batchmate, so he got recommended in his 19th attempt. So there is no end to that. It is like you apply for Air Force, Navy, and Army, and you are like attending 4 to 5 SSBs per year. So easily you will reach, within 3 years you will reach 15 attempts. But it is always good to clear it in first attempt.
Wonderful. Any last minute questions? Commandant Sri Krishna is asking, sir, can you explain a day in your work life as an officer?
During peace, it is normal office work. So it depends upon the place where you are posted.
Please, whoever is not speaking, mute. Please continue, Squadron Leader Vivek.
Okay. So it depends upon the place we are posted to. So currently I'm posted to a wing that is support services. We are into support services. So we support operations. So we support flying activities. So here we have to. Uh, I'm currently armament officer of my base. So I have to take care of the arms and ammunitions under my custody. So it is more of a office job, and if required, we will be uh, doing the loading and other activities also. But if you are posted to a squadron, so the day starts before sunrise. So it is like you go 3 o'clock in the morning, get the aircraft out of the hangar and get it ready for the sorties and all. So it completely depends upon and the day extends till night. So there is a huge difference between the work culture where you are posted. So in squadron, it is a little hectic, and in stations, it is quite comfortable. Does Air
Commandant,
Force have any 10th
yes.
and 12th qualification?
I think they probably
I
mean
think
if there
10th
is minimum
qualification is not there.
requirements. Okay.
Uh, the minimum requirement is 12th if you want to join as an officer. As explained, you can after 12th you can apply for NDA, that is National Defense Academy. The selection process is the same. You have to clear the written exam, and then followed by SSB and followed by medicals and everything. So difference is after 12th you get into NDA. So instead of 6 months of military training, you'll be given 3 years of military training. So by the end of the 3 year, you will be a completely different person. You will at 12th after 12th you'll be just a boy. It is told that here after NDA they become gentlemen cadets. So from a boy, they will be transformed to a gentleman cadet. So that is NDA. So after degree, other entry which I have mentioned. What do?
Thank you, Squadron Leader Vivek. Anyone else? Do you have any questions? Oh, we see some questions coming in. Hari is asking if can diploma graduates join the Air Force?
Diploma graduates, okay, high standard of where it is. Can I explain procedure for?
So KG is asking about what you can share about the from the high standards of discipline in the armed forces. What lessons can you share for civilians like many rest of us?
Exactly, to be precise, see, discipline is like it gets into our lifestyle, starting from being on time. That is a basic thing that is taught. um, when we discuss with your seniors and when we discuss with your elders, what how to speak politely, and everything is taught here. So you cannot argue with your seniors, and even though here there is a sentence that senior is always correct, whether he is wrong or right. When once it is told that he is correct. So there are ways and means to explain things that it is not right. So that part, uh, I feel that civil people can take, and rest all it is up to the personal this thing. Um, Everything is it depends upon the individual. Even in civil, I have seen people be on time even for a normal thing, that they will be on time even 5 minutes earlier. So and one more thing is we always have a standby plan. So if you are doing a main thing, and if it goes wrong, what next? So what to do if it goes wrong? So that back of the mind, we always have that standby plan.
Thank you.
Can you explain how to become a fighter pilot?
Yeah, Command Shruti is asking if you can explain how to become a
Explain
fighter
how to-
pilot.
it will not be decided till the time you undergo your initial phase of training. First initial training will be there, and after that, in the second at the end of the first year of training, there will be bifurcation. That too, the bifurcation will be like fixed wing and rotary wing. So after getting into fixed wing, after 6 months of training, there will be again trifurcation where they will be allotted. In fixed wing comes the fighters and transports. So it is after 1.5 years of training you will come to know fighter you are getting the fighters or not. Basically, if you are doing good in your academics during the training. So by the way, military training means it includes academics also. So we have a lot to study here. Pilots, engineers, everybody has a lot to study. Don't think that we were of the opinion that once you enter forces, we don't have to study and all. We will be doing exercise and all, parade and all. But after coming here, we came to know that we study a lot, and even now I have a lot to study. So it is completely the performance of your academics that whether you will get into fighter stream or not.
So Hari Raghavan asks if diploma graduates can join the Air Force.
I'm not sure about this. Diploma graduates, I've not seen any diploma graduates. I think NDA entry he can go. There is no doubt in that. But whether they can, like a degree entrance, they can come into Air Force or not, I'm not sure. Mostly they'll not be there. That will not be there.
And Darshini is asking if one can become a pilot even with vision corrections.
Yes, I think in initial medicals, this thing is not allowed. That power in our eyes is not allowed. But LASIK surgery, after undergoing LASIK surgery for correcting the power, the condition is like you should have undergone LASIK surgery 1 year before your medicals. So plan your surgery accordingly. But the condition is after LASIK surgery, you will be made fit by the military hospitals, and you can only get into flying, but it will be only for chopper or transport aircraft. You cannot go into fighters. So for fighters, there is no leeway.
Wonderful. We are 5 minutes after. Any last questions?
Okay, so financial support needed. Even we didn't know that we will be given during training. We will be given some money. So actually, it was like we were since we are engineers, we complete 4 years of course and enter into Air Force. Not like other people who, for example, if someone is doing BSc, so he can complete it in 3 years and join the forces. So for compensating that 1 year. The day we join Air Force, we are on paper, we are declared as officers on paper. So from the day one, we will be receiving our salary. So it was a surprise for me also. After going there, we came to know that we will be receiving some 30,000 odd per month. So you will be receiving that. And 30,000, if you are receiving, there is no expenditure for that. Everything is taken care of in that training.
Wonderful. Okay, this is the last question we'll take. Jacob is asking, what kind of mentality would you say that's required to get into the armed forces?
You should be ready to accept everything what comes your way with a positive attitude. You should be ready to accept. I think I don't know whether you are from NCC or not. In NCC, we tell something that obey with a smile. So even if it is a punishment, take it with a smile. So that kind of attitude is there, so you can come into armed forces.
Thank you, Squadron Leader Vivek. This was a wonderful webinar. We really appreciate your time and your careful advice to all the students. Thanks to all my colleagues at CEGian, KG, who is co-host, and Shanta, who has enabled so much. And thanks to Hema Prabha for really pointing us to Squadron Leader Vivek. Thanks to NCC Army and Arunachaleshwar specifically in working with us and in scheduling all this and really getting all the cadets ahead of time. So we were really happy to see such large participation. I think this is of the webinars we've conducted so far, this is the largest participation. So thanks to everyone. And you will have the recording also available on YouTube at the same link that was available for the streaming. So thank you, everyone. Have a good rest of the weekend.
Thank you,
Bye-bye.
Mr. Rao. Thank you so much.
Bye-bye.